My day-to-day job is running clinics for mental health, so depression, anxiety, panic, like I said, specialty in trauma, that's my specialty. I also get mobilised to go to installations when there's an accident, a fatality, a suicide or attempted suicide. And we employ TRIM, which is trauma risk management, so kind of dovetails nicely into the last piece that we talked about. I would say in the last 12 months I've probably been mobilised about 6 or 7 times for one of them categories, offshore and onshore, and the ripples that send is quite far-reaching for those that are affected. I recall one where I was mobilised for an attempted suicide. Luckily the guy walked to the chopper, but the ripples that affected everybody else that tried to help him was far-reaching, and I was on there for about 6 or 7 days. So that's another one of my hats. Very passionate about the area of mental health, and it's far-reaching, really. What I want to touch upon is, what does mental health mean to you guys? So if we can get some interaction going, what does it mean to you, in a nutshell, in one line or a few points? Yeah. Anybody? Feeling good? Okay. Yeah, that's a point. Anything else? Balanced emotions. Yeah, I like that one.
Being in control.
Being in control. Yeah, not out of control. Yeah, it's fair. Anything else?
Personal stuff you normally wouldn't talk about.
Right. Fair one.
Managing what life throws at you.
Yeah. Thick and fast normally.
Resilience.
Resilience. Yeah. What do we mean by resilience? What do you understand by that?
Being able to deal with situations and carry on.
Yep. So bounce back ability, for sure. Anybody else?
I was just on. For me, it's a bit of a pendulum of feelings, emotions, changes constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an ebb and flow. It's like a wave, isn't it, sometimes? Yeah, for sure. Financial problems, yeah. We're going to get to causation later on in the slides, but yeah, that can lead to mental health problems. Would you agree that it's subjective and different for all of us? Is that a fair point, do you think? Yeah, one person can cope with the biggest catastrophe, the biggest trauma, the biggest loss. I recall when I used to work in the NHS, there was a woman whose cat died. Relatively benign, in the grand scheme of things, but led to 7-8 years of depression. That was her lifeline, that was her baby, that was her child, because she had nothing else in her life. We're all different, and we can all cope with it differently in different ways, and sometimes it's a last straw event which will send us spiraling, really. So how we think and how we feel, these are the two major factors in cognitive behavioral therapy. The way that you think affects the way that you feel, and the way that you act or don't act affects the way that you feel. Ability to cope, ability to carry out tasks or day-to-day activities. So that to me kind of sums up what mental health in a brief, small window, what it could be. How is our mental health shaped? What affects it? Lifestyle, yeah. Can you say more about that?
Mood changes.
Yeah.
Changes in lifestyle, I guess. Experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
Relationships.
Yep. Was that sorry? Yeah, for sure. You look at my slides, have you? Anything else?
Relationship.
Yep. Good relationships, bad relationships, relationship breaks, yeah. Mental health, yeah. Medical health, yes, for sure. Both factors, both interlinked and entwined. So our biology, our genes, Hereditary factors says that up to 50%, I think, well, the studies on twins showed that makes us predisposed to mental health conditions. Siblings, parents, etc. Just because our mother is depressed doesn't mean to say that we're going to be depressed, but it makes us more predisposed. And sometimes there's a catalytic change of events, or sometimes there's a last straw event, or sometimes it's just one event will knock that person over. And maybe, that'll be the early onset of depression, for example. Our experiences, traumas, working in the field of trauma, two different types, categories. We've got the major T's, so they're the big events, such as childhood abuse, could be sexual abuse, could be near-death experiences like road traffic accidents and such. They're the major T's. We've also got the mini T's, which sometimes get overlooked, and sometimes that's a cumulative effect. So that could be bullying at school, could be bullying on installation, could be in the office, could be emotional put-downs in a relationship. These mini T's can cascade down and cause a traumatic event for some folk. So we've got the major T's, mini T's. Environment, well, most of you folks work in an iron box in the middle of the ocean. It's a trying environment. I know when I've been on there for about 7 days, and I know it's only a drop in the ocean for most of you guys. I noticed that my well-being starts to decline. If I'm not out on the park every single day, then I start to get a bit grumpy, a bit caged tigerish. So hats off for you guys for doing all the half the year out there. So it does affect our mental health, and obviously, like we said earlier, relationships. Something that's going on the beach can have a major effect to your mind, to your work, accidents, incidents, and so on and so forth. So, signs of mentally unwell. These are some of the ones that you might see out and about. Anybody recognize, acknowledge anything more you want to add to that? You've got a skill force out there, and often they're not prepared with the challenges of life, and that can have a massive effect. Some may not be emotionally intelligent enough to process some of the stuff that's happening on, and then when they leave it and they go off to the iron box in the sea, then it can be 10 times worse. All it takes is a drop out in the Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden that situation is 10 times worse. Angry outbursts. I was in an installation a few months ago where there was an altercation, and one guy chucked a big wrench at his colleague. Luckily he ducked, but it made a massive hole in the bulkhead. Obviously he was medevaced off promptly, but you've got to ask in that situation, what led to that? They seemed to be getting on okay, and then they weren't. And then all of a sudden there was an incident, and he chucked the wrench at him. Sleep's probably one of the first things that goes. Sleeping too much, sleeping too little, especially all the shifts that you guys are party to. It's a massive effect on mortality as well as productivity and mood. Anything like to add to that one? So this is its simplest format, mentally well, mentally unwell. We're going to expand a bit more on that in a bit. What would be the signs of good mental health? What do you recognise in yourselves? What do you recognise in others? If you're coping well with life. Yeah. Positivity. Calmness. Yeah. Happy. Yeah, in the simplest format, yeah. Optimism. I like that one, yeah. Confidence, yeah. And the opposite to that, across the way, low self-worth. Anything else? I mentioned resilience already. Decent sleeping patterns, energized, contributing to groups, bit of banter in the tea shack. Socially engaged, not withdrawn. Almost the opposite, really, aren't they? But it's a bit more complex than that. So this is what we call the mental health matrix. You may have seen it before. Basically, we've got 4 different quadrants. And if we start at the 1 o'clock position there, this is the best place to be. We've got high-level well-being. We're functioning well. We're full of beans. We're pretty resilient. But it's not a perfect world. And as the shifts go on, maybe it's a 2-week rota, maybe even a 3-week rota, might start moving away from this quadrant. So we're all in this quadrant in any given day, week, month, year, okay? So we might start moving away from that. Top left, high level of mental well-being, despite being diagnosed with a mental health illness. Now, we're going to come to the stats in a bit. But if I recall, I've seen a guy, he's a high-functioning solicitor with a diagnosis of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. He was doing okay, he was medicated, and the medication was working. He came to me just because he had a bit of a wobble. He thought one of his wheels was going to fall off. Turns out he was doing all right, just need a few more tools to get back on the road. And then we come to the worst quadrant. Mental health illness, diagnosed. Keyword is diagnosed there. Often it's not diagnosed. And the well-being is poor. I see a lot of these folks. Long-term sick. People coping with, excuse me, relationship difficulties, conflicts at work, trauma coming back from the past. I recall I seen a guy who was, he had left the Marines about 30 years ago, but incident at work led to the awakening of these trauma memories. And it was, he was in a bit of a mess, to be honest. 25 sessions with him, and we got him back to work. But yeah, this is often the people that come to my clinics. And then we've got those who don't actually have a mental health diagnosed condition, but may be suffering severely from stress or burnout. I'm guessing you guys have seen quite a lot of that in your place of work. I've seen a fair few OIMs come to my clinics who would probably fit in that category, hitting that burnout level. So take a snapshot of yourself, try and picture where you are, where you've been. It's not just about mental health problems, but it's also about well-being as well. Major factors there. Some of the stats. We're expecting these stats to be updated. It's a 7-yearly government report. Should have came out last year, but there was some corruption with the data. So we're expecting these scores to be high, unfortunately. Have a little look at this. See what sticks out for you there.
40% is huge.
Yeah. So that was from the white paper that came out last year. And I think it was a cross-section of 330 folk. And 40% said, yeah, when they're on shift, they experience suicidal thoughts. Either some or all of the time whilst on shift. It's a pretty big stat, isn't it? It's pretty up to date as well. Same paper brought us that a third of offshore workers are clinically depressed. Anybody shocked by that? Does that kind of fit from what you're experiencing? Anecdotally speaking to medics on all the installations I've been to and all the courses that I've been involved with medics, most of them would agree that 40 to 50% of offshore workers are on antidepressants. Now, they could be stabilised. Remember the quadrant from earlier? They could be well stabilised and they could be doing all right, or they could be struggling. It's a sign of the times. And put it in that box in the sea. You know, it's almost a perfect storm sometimes for exacerbation of these moods and thought disorders. 1 in 6 will have mental health decline in any given week. So looking around the room here, there's a fair few tables, if that stat is correct, who could be struggling right now. So bear that in mind. Sometimes it's about normalizing this, breaking the taboo. So, you know, the knowledge is there, the information is there, and fingers crossed we can get to getting some help. Okay then. Initially, I had planned to do some group work here, but kind of short on time. I've been asked to try and condense this a little bit, so let's shout it out. What causes mental health problems? For yourself, for people that come through your door, the list is vast, I know, but what are the classic ones?
Substance abuse.
For sure, yeah. Massive in the offshore industry. Bereavement and loss, yeah.
Financial issues.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Loss of work. It's just,
It is endless, yeah.
Trouble with the partners at home? Trouble with the partners at home?
Yes, yep. Difficulties, relationships. You away half the year, so there's going to be some strain, isn't there?
Family deaths, grief.
Yeah. Grief, loss, for sure. Anything else that might cause it? Workload, yeah. Pressure leads to stress. Stress leads to too much taking on, burnout.
Seasonal awareness, sort of. Seasonal awareness.
Yep, sad, very much so, especially on installations. Not taking the vitamin Ds and not getting out and about, then, you know, it's going to impact. Exactly, yeah. Remember that 50%? Yeah, predisposed. What about adverse childhood experiences, ACEs? Have you heard of that? There's a massive impact. Apparently, most of us will have one in our lives, but you know, 2 to 3, and that leads to a predisposition for PTSD. So apparently, the brain wall is a lot much thinner in development, which makes it more susceptible. And the cortisol is usually in one particular part of the brain, but there's like a shotgun effect in the brain, which these cortisols will be activated, making us more susceptible to traumas. Anything else?
A lot of that going on.
Yes, a lot of change. Working with quite a lot of clients at the moment. A lot of companies who are going through reorganisations. Seems to be a sign of the times, but often it comes in waves. And obviously with the current uncertainty with the government, there's a lot of folk with Plan B projects looking to work further afield, making cutbacks. I'm at clients probably half the week running drop-in clinics for those who are struggling with the uncertainty, struggling with the reorg, struggling with the loss of jobs, for sure.
Work-life balance.
Yep. And that balance is difficult again, isn't it? Even with half the year off, it's still difficult to try and get that balance. Good. What would be signs of a struggle? What we're looking for in ourselves, what we're looking for other folk?
Changes in someone's character.
Yes. What changes could there be?
Loss of productivity.
Yep.
Becoming withdrawn.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Anything else?
Lack of concentration,
Yep. Which might lead to
mistakes,
accidents. Yep.
Increased substance abuse.
Yep.
Alcohol intake, for example.
Yep. You might see it on the heli deck, or you might see it where they're just checking in. You know, you might see the shakes, you might see the withdrawal, you might see, like you see, irritability. You could see some physical signs. Yeah, for sure.
Absence.
Yep. Time off. Maybe missing the heli completely.
being tired, like long-term tired,
Long-term tired. Yeah. And how's that going to look? How are we going to see?
physically, it's tired, withdrawn,
Yeah.
mentally distracted, lack of concentration, withdrawal.
Yeah. All of the above. Yep. What else?
Physical fears, weight loss, weight gain.
Exactly, weight loss again. On the back of that, you might see those that are usually gym bunnies not going to the gym, or the opposite. A guy's brought my attention when I was in installation a few months ago who wasn't a runner, but all of a sudden he was running 3 or 4 hours a night after his shift, which was a bit of an eyebrow raise. It was outside his normal character. Wasn't training for anything, but he was just like a hamster, just going round and round. Any other signs we're looking out for in ourselves or others?
Lack of sleep.
Yeah, lack of sleep. And that's going to look like, what? Nodding off in toolbox talks. I mean, it's standard for most guys to get their head down in the lunch break, so that's not really probably what I'd class as signs of a change. Anything else? Yep. Yeah. So looking for some behavioural changes. You might notice some physical changes in themselves, putting on weight, losing loads of weight. Sudden changes. Sleep we mentioned. Any changes in behaviour that seem a little bit off, out of character for them. I know you guys are pretty good at spotting these things, and often I'll hear from OIMs that one of the hats is almost agony aunt for the installation. So there's a lot of folk come to you guys who are struggling. So expanding a little bit on that, what do we mean by changes within a person? Could be anything.
As a leader, if you've got one of your top performers suddenly stops performing or gradually declines over a period of time,
Yeah.
it's understanding what's causing that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just stop overnight.
No. So it's systemic, you're looking for a bigger picture sometimes.
Pretty much everything was said in the previous slide.
Right. Fair what? Yeah. More accidents. Smoking more. Could be a bit covert that you may not see it. But if they're constantly checking into the smoke shack, that could mean something. Changes in mood, sudden changes, switching from manicness to depression, to withdrawalness, Sometimes it's like peaks and troughs and it changes quite rapidly. I mentioned the top one, unkempt, very difficult sometimes with some guys offshore. I know several guys who were encouraged to shower on a regular basis because they were classed as a bit honking in the crew shack. That could be normal for them, so we need to bear that in mind. We're looking for changes, really. So this is a little clip. We've got time for this? Yeah?
Craig, do you want to come into the office for a little chat? Okay. How's things been with you lately, Craig?
Pretty grand.
I've noticed you've not seen yourself lately, to be honest.
Right. What have you seen?
Just noticed you've not been your normal self, your normal cheeky self. You seem quite withdrawn. I've noticed you've been sitting yourself at dinner time and using tab nabs.
Okay. So, I don't know if you feel quite yourself for some time now.
You want to talk about it?
Don't know. Well,
It might. Can't do any harm. What's been going on with you lately?
I just got no energy, motivation, make mistakes at work, can't concentrate. Everything's just going wrong at home. I think she's going to leave me.
When did you start feeling like this? Has this been going for a while?
It's been about 12 months now, it's been getting worse and worse.
12 months now. Have you not spoken to anyone about this?
No. That's the problem. I just shut all my friends, don't speak at work, don't speak at home. I don't see what the point is.
Do you feel worse now than
Yeah, I feel the worst I've felt so far now.
you've not even spoken to your wife about this?
I think she knows. I just can't speak to her. We don't speak anymore.
What about some of your mates now when you're at home? Nobody you can talk to there?
Being a guy, you don't talk about those things, you know.
You
I don't want
can't.
to bore them. They're just interested in talking about football and all that crap.
You'd be surprised at the young mates, you know.
I'm not sure. Not sure.
What do you think's caused this then? Is it work? Or?
My dad died about a year ago. I suppose that could be part of what's going on. Never quite talked about it, never quite processed it.
Okay. Difficult question, but how would you feel just now?
How do you mean?
Have you ever thought about hurting yourself, or
I feel what's the point in life, but I don't feel like I want to take my life. No,
okay.
no, I haven't got that far.
You've often thought about all the good things you've got to look forward to in life.
I don't think I've got anything to look forward to.
Do you feel like you can't go on, or
I've got to go on, I've got to pay the bills, you know.
so, Craig, I'm one of the mental health first aiders at work, and I think you do need to talk to someone who considered your GP at all. If you want to talk to your wife or your mates at the moment, you don't obviously don't know your GP, you might feel a little bit more comfortable talking to him.
I'm sure it'll help.
Well, they are trained in this, this kind of stuff as well, and they can certainly offer you some help, some guidance, see where you can go from here.
Well, they're not asking case though.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that could help, and there are obviously other self-help things online, information online, and things you can get as well. There's also you can speak to the phone anonymously as well, just to
Okay.
share your
Well,
thoughts and
sounds-
give you some advice.
Well, maybe, yeah. Maybe there's something about it that's ridiculous.
It could be when you realise, there's certainly a light at the end of the tunnel, as it were.
Maybe.
Do you want to go and grab a coffee this night?
I'd like that actually, yeah. I'd like that.
I'll shout.
What did you see? What was I attempting to show you? And what did you see with the interactions with that guy I was trying to help?
Not engaged.
Yeah. How could you tell?
Head in your hands, then looking in the eye.
Yeah. Even walking in, it was slow, wasn't it? Obviously, that's exaggerated for the audience, but yeah, you may actually see that. Anything else?
To look at hopelessness really.
Yeah. Just staring into oblivion, wasn't he? What did you see that the guy was attempting to do with it?
Trying to get you to open up.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah. He wasn't fazed by it, didn't seem fazed by it, which is all important. He even went down questioning about suicide. Do you think talking about suicide makes a person more suicidal? Some head shakes. Any nods? Nope. Research shows us the exact opposite. By feeling confident enough just to mention the word, instantly makes that person feel like there's a load being lifted. And I've asked that question thousands of times now over the last 20 odd years in every single session, first sessions. And never once had one person get outraged, never had them run out of the room. They either have or they haven't, and if they have, it's just like a pressure release valve, just to talk about it. So yeah, it can reduce them feelings, them thoughts, for sure. I know it was a brief minute, but what kind of started that conversation? I know it was acting, and I was a very pliable customer, but what can you start with that would be helpful in a conversation? What do you say to get the folks to open up? Yeah.
But recognise that you've noticed a change without asking, is there anything wrong?
Right. Okay. So I've seen X, Y, and Z. Okay. Good. Anything else? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Non-judgmental.
for sure, if you can be, yeah. Yeah. Try not to joke about it, because that might make them close down. Try not to pull yourself together, or things, could be worse. Never really helpful lines.
Just be genuine and show you care.
Yeah. Yeah. Give them that time to speak.
Not trying to find a solution, just listen.
Exactly. That guy there was exploring, wasn't he? So you noticed there was some exploration, and then there was, trying to get me to think about perhaps options, and if we had gone a bit further on, then we would have came to some solution. But yeah, it was exploring, given that time. What about location? Is that important to get folk to open up?
Well, you're not going to do that with office.
No, you're not. You're going to try and get your timing right, or maybe even seeing, can we go for a walk? There's a lot of credence for fellas who are more pliable when they're walking, or when they're working as well. Obviously not a safety critical task, but yeah. Anything else that you'd start with?
I think it's important that if you're starting that kind of conversation, you're not face to face. It's often easier if you're side by side or side on
Yeah.
or something, so that it's not such a direct interaction.
Yep. So it's not as intimidating then, is it? Yeah. Is body language important? How so?
Don't look disinterested.
Yeah. Don't clock watch. Yeah. Anything else?
7 minutes.
Yeah. Open. Yeah. Good body language. Anything else that you'd add to?
I didn't see the video, but something I could do is maybe share a vulnerability or share something.
Or like personal share?
Self-personal, so it creates an atmosphere in which they feel free to also share.
Yeah. I was going through X last year, and it was a big struggle. I leaned on Y. I spoke to Bob, the tool pusher, and it was really helpful. Yeah, some share like that could definitely open them, couldn't it? Some starters. So noticing what you're saying, noticing the change, mentioning you're worried, be curious. When did this start? Are you able to talk about that? When did you start feeling so low? I mean, how's your diet? How are you eating regularly? You're probably not going to get much from folks on installations, but you might get it from folks in the office maybe. Asking how the sleep's been. Are you sleeping all right? Usually the first thing to go. How can I best support you? One of my favourites. What can I do? That would be helpful to you. What's happened in the past? What's worked for you? Do you have a go-to person? What do you do normally? What haven't you? What have you stopped doing? What could you do? This is something that I rolled out last year on an installation. I was asked to bring something that would be concise, something that might stay in their heads. We do have the flyers to be printed off if anybody's interested. So this is just something to think about. Think about your time, as you mentioned that. Quiet time when others around, suggesting a time to talk. Asking how they're feeling. There's a part in the brain called the amygdala, which is responsible for basic emotional regulation. If we can give that a feeling, and an intensity ideally, it calms that part of the brain down, so it automatically leads to a calmness, if you like. Listen, give you attention, don't have to speak all the time. Nods, go-ons, really important. I'm listening. If you can, reflect back. What I'm hearing is X, Y, and Z. Encourage them to focus on small changes. What have they done before in the past? Who can they speak to? What hobbies did they used to do? What could they do? Is there a new one? Could they join a class? Could they go to the gym, a gym friend or something? Importantly, check in afterwards. Really important. Yeah. Often when I do my drop-ins, onshore, offshore, after the session comes to a natural end, I'll say, really like you to come back to us before bugger off on Thursday. It'd be really nice to check in. And I would say 8 times out of 10 they do. And they genuinely notice a change with the stuff we've talked about and the tools that they've got. Some folk might say, I'm not okay, and that is okay. We can get through it together. And then we've got the signposting. You know, you're not there to be therapists. You're not there to be counsellors. I know it feels like it sometimes, probably, but you know, you're there to listen, explore, and then signpost. What's your options here? What have you got? And we'll look at our options in a minute. But you know, these kind of questions can be really important. Sometimes they'll have apps that they've been using in the past, like Headspace, but haven't used it for months. You know, that can be a big difference. What do you guys do to gain better mental health? What can we do to try and promote with other folk? Exercise, yeah. It's got me through some rough times myself, for sure. Anything else? Better diet, yeah. Just trying to look for some control in your life that you can take back, especially if it's gone a bit wry. Yep, talk. Every time in last sessions I have in clinics, I do some consolidation, some relapse prevention, and I'll ask them what they took from the sessions. And sometimes it's quite intricate, like trauma work is quite intricate. 99 times out of 100 they'll say, it was really nice to talk, really nice not to be judged. Even though I've been working my socks off with a big bag full of tools, you know, that's what they generally come out with. So, yeah, talking is really powerful, and listening is more powerful.
Get some real downtime.
Downtime, yeah. Even that's just half an hour after a shift, just winding down. Difficulty being with technology as it is, no longer they go to the common rooms. Everybody shoots off into the cabins, so it's quite difficult sometimes to, you know, to promote that. But yeah, yeah, big time. Yeah, sleep hygiene, really important. First things to go, and one of the first things that I work with folk is some sleep hygiene. Support networks. I think if I look at my own networks, I've got about several. I've got some Samaritan friends I'll go to if I'm feeling emotionally imbalanced, for example. I've got some ex-Navy buddies I'll get in touch with to go out with to have some banter. Got some work colleagues that I might bounce some ideas off. It's really important to have our networks, be it on WhatsApp, on Teams, really important to have them and use them, especially in times of challenges. Positive diaries, really good to get into this habit of noticing the things that you've done well that day, things that are going well that week, the challenges that you've had and the challenges that you overcome, really important to maybe identify and almost give yourself a pat on the back for that, you know, really important. CBT I mentioned earlier, writing down your thoughts and feelings. With awareness comes choice is one of the often things that I say in my clinics. And if we're not aware of how we're thinking or feeling, then we've got no chance of challenging it. So it's a case of trying to catch, challenge and change. So noticing what our thoughts are 3 times a day, noticing how we're feeling, trying to track that. You know, there's various apps we can do that. We can just do it on our phone or a bit of paper. Just setting alarms maybe, just checking in how we're doing. Just noticing how that goes throughout the shift, throughout the time off. Often I'll notice some folks say they're the happiest when they're on installation, when they go home. You know, they've got nothing, there's no one there. They've got nowhere to go back to, and you know, often we probably associate that they're the times that you decompress and you get a chance to recharge, but other folk are, you know, not that lucky really. Working on the sleep, we mentioned that earlier, sleep hygiene, really important. Working on boundaries with apps, artificial light tells the brain it's still daylight, so not just a blue screen, but anything will tell our brain it's still daylight, and that will stop melatonin from being produced, which is a sleepy hormone. So 1 hour before bedtime, getting light dialed down. If you're in your cabin, you know, using the tiny little cabin light, really important to let that melatonin kick in. exercise obviously is a good one. More active, appreciating nature. Obviously when you're on installation, it's going to be quite difficult. But you know, as for you guys doing whale spotting and wildlife spotting, I noticed on some installations it seems quite a popular pastime. And it was on one that had a fishing competition, which I've never heard of before. Some deep sea fishing. There's something called Shirin-yoku, which is Japanese for forest bathing. They've noticed, they've done some studies on it, that the plants, the trees produce phytoncides, which is responsible for calming down our cortisol levels and giving a sense of peace. So getting out and about in nature, really important. Social prescription, that's something that GPs are given these days. I don't know if you've had that with GPs. Getting folks to think about clubs, befriending. Men's shed's a big thing. It's grown from Australia. Massive. Guys are more at ease when they're working with their hands, when they're sharing, when they learn new skills. It's obviously a time when they might talk and offload, so it's something else to think about. Sense of humour, really important. If I've had a tough clinic, I might flash up a bit of Life of Brian or Billy Connolly or something like that. Just a few chuckles or a podcast on the way home. Working mental health is pretty heavy sometimes, and it can take its toll. Bit of therapeutic saturation, so it's really important to think around what you can do and what works for you, even if it's only a few moments a day. Mindfulness, have we heard of that? Anybody heard of that? Any nods? Yep, got 1, 2, 3. How would you sum it up? What is mindfulness? Being present, stereo, nice. Any other factors to it? Okay. Yeah. Being present, being in the moment, and importantly, without judgment. 3 tenets to mindfulness. It's basically Buddhism without the religion. So they've used all the good stuff, taking religion out, and what's been left is coined mindfulness. Simple things, activities we do in automatic pilot, like driving, like washing the dishes, like washing your hair, like shaving. These activities is when the brain gets bored, and often it'll find some unhelpful things to think about, some unhelpful experiences to dwell on, relationships that ended, jobs you didn't get, that altercation with that guy 3 months ago, 2 years ago. These kind of things can creep in, so trying to do activities mindfully is the invitation when it comes to this. Just a few moments a day is enough to kind of offset that. Loads of stairs in installation. I always try and recommend folk to use the stairs and walk a bit slower, noticing how it feels on the handrails, on the feet, if there's any movement to the installation, just noticing that. Eating, drinking, these kind of things. Just slowing it down. Most of the time we'll just shovel it in the galley and then get back to work, but if we can try and slow down that, for example, it's going to help with the automatic pilot. Outdoor swimming, cold water swimming, plunge pools. Anybody do it? Yeah? Yeah? What do you notice? Yep. Clarity, did you say? Yeah. Nice one. Anything else? Anything else that it gives? Anybody know the science behind it? You noticed? Okay, do you? Okay, that's interesting. So science shows us that it's really good. It purges cortisol, which is a stress hormone. It's like a dump by going from hot to cold. Just by having a cold shower after a hot shower can really help with that cortisol dump. Less stress. What else does it do? It increases our immune system, so it makes us more tolerant to germs and bugs. And it also helps with the pain gate. So those who are suffering from long-term pain, arthritis, injuries and such can really help with the healing, closing the pain gate and allowing for that bit more comfort. Breathe. It sounds a bit trite, but sometimes we forget to breathe. I don't know if you noticed that box in the corner, flickering away, trying to regulate yourself with that. It's really helpful. Mindful breathing, belly breathing, box breathing, whatever works for you, really. Some self-help resources I want you to pay attention to, please. NHS Inform, which used to be called Mood Juice, got some great resources on there, got some great workbooks, some programs on anxiety and depression. Really good information sheets there. Samaritans, close to my heart, open 24/7, now a free phone number and an email service. Living After the Full is a program that was successful. Started off in England with the Improved Access to Psychological Therapies program. Calm, it's primarily for men. This is a new one that I found when I was doing this piece of work. I don't know if you've heard of Offshore Titans. Anybody heard of that one? Well, it's got lots of really good level 2 access, 6-week courses on stuff like counselling, adverse childhood experience, knowledge, informed awareness, even got level 2 mental health first aid, all free. All you need to do is enroll. It's all government funded. I thought it was a fantastic resource. Some podcasts, I know there's thousands out there. These are just some of the ones that I like the Broken Brain, Live Better, Feel More, and Human Lab's very good for research. It's a very good one on there on outdoor swimming, although it's about 2 hours long. Very good science-based podcast. Mentioned some of the apps before, Headspace. Often we'll have our assistance programs at work. Often it comes free. Calm, I like that for sleep. Very good meditative sleep talking through process. A lot of actors on there to kind of get you in that sleepy place. A lot of repetitive sounds like oceans and waves and rainforests and such. Hub of Hope, I asterisk that. It's a very good resource. It's got algorithms for areas that you're in, punching in location, and it'll give you all the local resources in that area. Really good for if you're moving around quite a lot. Finally, further options. Obviously, we've got our employment assistance program. Most companies have that. Seems to be mixed reviews, to be fair. There were in some bad press last year, some of the companies. It's limited and it's brief when it comes to mental health. Sometimes there's around 6-7 sessions to give. Often it's on the phone, sometimes it's face-to-face. Can be good if someone's going through a crisis. Something more deep-rooted, for example, anxiety, depression, then perhaps looking for the evidence-based treatment, which is CBT for such programs, for such disorders, and that's the BCP to find the accredited, the benchmark seal for a therapist. There's often folks out there that'll say they do CBT when they've done a weekend course. Make sure they're accredited, to be fair. Or perhaps yourselves or someone else is suffering from grief and loss, then perhaps some counselling could be more recommended. And to find the gold seal of a counsellor, then it's the BACP, which is quite similar and often confused, but they're two very different organisations. A lot of folks have private mental health insurance, the Bupa, the AXAs, the Vitalities. Depending on the package and that they cover, that could be anything from 8 to 10 sessions to 20 sessions if it's something like Bupa. They're very good at giving that support. You can pick whoever you want. It could be online, it could be face-to-face, it could be a hybrid. Very good resource for those. Not trying to tear for business, but we run clinics at TAC for one-to-ones. Often we'll get referrals from HR, from the occupational health physician who's seen them, from medics and so on and so forth. Sometimes they'll just come because they're self-funding. And obviously we run programs for mental health. Run a very good champions program because with awareness comes choice.